Today's episode of the WAC Podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. And now here's your host, Eric Danner.
Welcome to the WAC Podcast. My name is Eric Danner, joined today by Ismael Kagone, as Rachel V. Hill had her swan song last week. Wish her well. She's now at 104.3 The Fan in Denver, Sports Talk, and she'll be doing all their video stuff over there. And she's already started up doing some great things I saw on Monday. But in the meantime, we're joined by Ismael until we can find Rachel's replacement. Ismael, welcome to the show. You're kind of new to the WAC. You came in this past year, and you typically work in championships, but today you're filling in on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the position you have here at the Western Athletic Conference.
Well, first, thank you for allowing me to be on the podcast with you. But yeah, I work in championships, specifically, with women's soccer, track and field, and tennis. And I got into being in championships from my time doing the internship with the Atlantic 10, and I just enjoyed being in championships, and I wanted to make it a career for myself. So I ended up here in Colorado, and I've been enjoying my time here so far.
Yeah, we're located here in Denver, Colorado, and people might pick up a little East Coast accent there. Ismael, where do you hail from?
I was born in New York City. But I was raised in Philadelphia, so that's my background right there. So you might hear a little bit of an accent. I don't hear it myself, but most people say they hear an accent when I start to speak. So,
and you've been able to travel around a little bit anyway since you joined the WAC. You got to see Las Cruces last year, and I believe Las Vegas, and you went down to Edinburgh, Texas as well.
Yeah, definitely some different places, some very different atmospheres. Vegas is very different from being in Edinburgh, whereas and especially where when I went, especially with it being super hot, I wasn't used to that. I'm a East Coast kid, like you mentioned, and I'm cold. And when it gets hot, it's for a small period of time. So having it being hot all the time, and is adjusting. I'm getting adjusted to that.
Yeah, we have 6 schools in the state of Texas, more than any Division I conference in the United States. Also wanted to mention, we announced today, as we record this on Tuesday, our partnership with Espn, and we're very fortunate, very happy to have that partnership that goes all the way back. We're one of the first clients of Espn back in 1980. Of course, the WAC's been around since 1962, so we will have 500 plus events on ESPN Plus, including our championship events, and schools will be also, if you haven't seen already, actually Monday night, Utah Valley had a soccer match on ESPN Plus. We've seen some Grand Canyon, a couple other schools already on there, so that will continue as the season moves forward. And speaking of women's soccer, fall season already underway, and we already have our players of the week. From Abilene Christian, Natalie Jones is the offensive player of the week, and Grand Canyon's Hannah Edwards picking up the defensive player of the week. And those are our Ticket Smarter players of the week. Jones is a midfielder from Lubbock, Texas. She scored both of ACU's goals on the week. And GCU, Edwards, who's from Aurora, Colorado, from right around here where you live, Ismael, is in Aurora, and she became GCU's all-time leader in minutes played against Central Arkansas during that match, and they won 5-0. Very impressive if you had a chance to check that out. And they also beat Southeast Louisiana by a score of 2-0. So both those schools off to a great start in women's soccer.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. I think that with the addition of the new schools, I think we should have some fairly high-level competition.
We should. And then men's soccer gets underway this week on Thursday night. Chicago State added the sport of men's soccer last year. Of course, with the pandemic and all that good stuff, they weren't able to play a season. So this will be their first season, and they're not tiptoeing in. Ismael, they're opening with Northwestern in a home match there in Chicago. So crosstown rival, but a Power 5 school to start the schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them. But, I think that, with them getting the chance last year to play some matches prior to this year, I think that we should see how that outcome turns out, but I think they should do pretty well.
Last week on the podcast, we had Leonard Griffin, the new men's soccer coach at Grand Canyon. The Lopes are ranked number 22 in the country. They'll also be hosting a Chicago school, University of Illinois, Chicago, also on Thursday night. So you want to check out ESPN Plus for that broadcast.
Absolutely.
On Wednesday night, the MLS All-Star Game will be happening. And if you happen to stumble on that on FS1, Alex Roldan, former Seattle U star player, now playing for the Seattle Sounders, was selected to play in the All-Star Game. What a season he's having. And his brother, Christian Roldan, is the captain of the team. And that'll be on Fox Sports 1 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's always probably fun to play with your brother, especially during the year, and then especially in the All-Star Game. I think that's really dope. I think their parents are probably gonna be sitting and enjoying the fact that they have two sons playing in the MLS All-Star Game.
And that game's going to be played in Los Angeles at that stadium, I believe, that the Chargers were playing in for a couple of years, that LAFC stadium. So that'll be fun to watch. Volleyball preseason polls are also out, Ismael, and we're going to have Sam Atoa on in our second segment. Utah Valley picked to win the West this year, and New Mexico State has had a lot of success over the years. They're right behind them in the West Division poll. Grand Canyon is always tough. California Baptist, again, we're just talking about the West here, but in the Southwest, we also have a lot of new schools to the WAC, but they're also very good schools for volleyball.
Yeah, I know with the success that Utah Valley had last year, I know they definitely have that target on their back, and everybody's going to be gunning for them.
Stephen F. Austin is picked to win the Southwest Division, followed by Sam Houston. Tarleton, who's transitioning, they're picked third. They have a very strong volleyball program there in Stephenville, Texas. Abilene Christian, UTRGV, and Lamar round out that poll in the West. As we mentioned, Utah Valley, New Mexico State, Grand Canyon, California Baptist. Then it's Dixie State, followed by Chicago State, who won a tournament match last year, and then Seattle U. Our preseason player of the year, Kazna Tanavasa from Utah Valley. Not a real big surprise since she was also the player of the year last year.
Yeah, I've watched some of the matches, and she's really, really good.
Moving on to the championships, Ismael, this is in your wheelhouse. We just announced this week the official sites. Of course, you've been working on this for quite some time now, so no surprises to you, but we're going to start things off October 30th in Riverside, California, with the cross-country championships hosted by California Baptist.
Yeah, I think with championships this year, with us being so spread out, I think it's going to be a good experience for everybody just to be able to go to different places, and for the student athletes to experience different areas, especially if you are in the West Division, go to the Southwest Division and vice versa. So I think it's going to be great.
And I know there were some places that had been awarded championships that they're either going to be postponed until next year, trying to balance out that schedule with the 4 new schools coming in and trying to make sure nobody's having to, do all their travel one way or the other.
Yeah. I know this year, especially, we've decided, to have equal amount of championships between the Southwest and West Division, and that's what we're planning on doing moving forward. So for sure, you're going to have people being on both sides of the division.
Women's soccer will be at Abilene Christian, while men's soccer remains at Grand Canyon and Phoenix. Volleyball, it will be at New Mexico State, and they're always a powerhouse in that sport. Indoor track and field will be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I know they have a really nice venue there, Ismael. I've been there for Division II national championships several years ago. They've also hosted Mountain West and several other championships over the years.
Absolutely. I actually just finished speaking with the people at Albuquerque, and they just told me that they just revamped their track. So they have a brand new track this year, and I'm looking forward to being down there.
And that's a nice downtown venue there, and that'll be in February. And right after that, we're going to have the swimming championships, which will be in Houston, even though none of our new schools have swimming. That's a place we've had the WAC Swimming and Diving Championships for several years at the University of Houston. Again, a very nice venue. Basketball is going to be back at the Orleans in WAC Vegas, and that's always the one to circle if you're looking for a championship to go to. Knock on wood, everything's good as far as travel goes when we get to March, but you had a chance to get a taste of WAC Vegas. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I experienced it last year at a smaller scale, so I'm looking forward to the whole show this year.
Speaking of basketball, a couple of basketball related notes here. Randy Brown, who played at New Mexico State. And when we had the podcast last year, Ismael, when really not much was going on, Rachel and I would kind of break down the last dance each week. And I would try to have WAC ties because you'd see players. Luke Longley played in the WAC when he was at New Mexico. Randy Brown, of course, went to New Mexico State, was pretty prominent on some of those teams. He was a backup, but I mean, he actually picked up a couple of championship rings. He went back and got his degree at New Mexico State, so that's always a good story.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I know in reading some of the stuff that he talked about with getting his degree, he mentioned that when giving back and speaking to children, that it's important for him to emphasize education, and with him now having his degree, he can put the full force behind his statements and what he's saying to the children about getting that education. So that's a great thing for him to get the degree.
And Russ Bradford, we've had on the show before. He's the analyst for New Mexico State, former assistant coach, worked under Lou Henson, is from Chicago. And I know he had a lot of ties to the Chicago area. Of course, Lou Henson also coached at Illinois. So there was a lot of ties between Illinois and New Mexico. So good to see Randy Brown getting that degree. Staying with New Mexico State basketball, Trevelyan Queen, if you watched any of the summer league, he's been a highlight show this year.
Yeah, purple and gold. People play with the Lakers in the summer league, and especially his last outing, he played really, really well. And I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he'll find a way on a training camp roster or something like that, or even play overseas.
Yeah, he was one of those guys, Ismael, that really. If the pandemic hadn't happened, he can do a ton of what ifs. But New Mexico State was so good that year, went undefeated in conference play and had the long win streak, and they looked like a team that could make some noise in the NCAA tournament. And unfortunately, didn't get that opportunity. The year before, they went to the NCAA's, played Auburn, went to overtime, took them down the wire. Could have had them, but then Auburn wins and goes on to the Final Four. And that team the next year was even better with Trevelyan Queen as the main guy. So you wonder if they would have had a run in the tournament, he would have been one of those guys that probably would have been drafted. And I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but right. I think I'm not going out on too much of a limb saying that if they had a Sweet 16 run, he would have opened up a lot of eyes. And that's what happens in the tournament. Sometimes guys make a big name for themselves. Well, he didn't have that opportunity. Did get to go to camp with the Houston Rockets and then played in the G League last year. So would be great to see him get an opportunity, not only in a camp, but maybe making an NBA roster this year.
That is always about the opportunity, and then being able to be on that stage. And then, depending on the teams you play for as well, it all matters. Like being on playing for the Lakers in summer league with all of the news that's always surrounding them, people always put eyes on them and try to watch, they might be watching for somebody else, and then they come across the Trevelyan Queen, and then there goes hey, we want to talk to you, want to bring you in the camp, want to invite you. So it's always about the opportunity, and I'm glad he was getting the opportunity to play, and he definitely performed, especially in that last game.
Yeah, and his defense is underrated as well. And when he can defend on the perimeter, those NBA teams always like that. And another guy who got an opportunity in the summer league, Asbjorn Midgard, we had a chance to see him in WAC Vegas. This is a mountain of a man. Yeah. Asbjorn, 7'1", 7 feet tall, and he played for the Orlando Magic during the summer league this year.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch a couple of his games because he played. I've been watching a lot of summer league, just because I had a couple of friends who were in the summer league and or had gotten the opportunity to be on the roster, and I watched him play a little bit with him and Cole Anthony and stuff like that. So I'm happy he got the opportunity to play in the summer league.
And so he went on to sign a professional contract in the Netherlands. And if you want to check out the story by our good friend Paul Coro, who writes for GCULopes.com, there's a good article on there about Asbjorn, and good luck to him and his travels overseas. As Alessandro Lever also played at GCU last year, he'll be playing over in Europe as well.
Yeah, and then I'm told that he just got married too in the article. He recently got married, so I'm hoping he brings his wife with him to the Netherlands and have the experience, and then have like an early honeymoon over there while he's getting ready to play. So good luck to him and the Netherlands.
Yeah, good luck to Asbjorn. And when we come back, we're going to talk WAC volleyball with Sam Atoa, the volleyball coach at Utah Valley. You're listening to the WAC Podcast.
Hercules Tires is the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference, and for over 65 years has been providing tires with unbeatable quality at an unmatched value. Whatever the vehicle and whatever the terrain, Hercules Tires invites you to ride on our strength. For a retailer near you, visit HerculesTires.com.
Welcome back to the WAC Podcast. Eric Danner and Ismael Kagone are now joined by Sam Atoa, the head volleyball coach at Utah Valley. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. It's always great to be able to get together with you and just kind of talk volleyball and WAC volleyball. So it just seemed like it was just yesterday.
Actually, it was just yesterday, Coach. It seems like you guys won the WAC tournament, got to go to the NCAAs, but here we are, a new season ahead of us. Tell me what that offseason was like. Obviously, a truncated offseason, if you will, compared to previous years.
Yes, it was. It was such a busy off season in a lot of ways because you only had the season to focus on in the spring, and then but usually when we're done in the fall, we have the whole entire beginning of the year, that spring season, to just kind of prepare and do things that we needed to for the fall season. And so when you had our season in the spring, now all of a sudden you got 3 months to kind of take time off and spend some time with family, order stuff. I mean, all of those things that just was like, okay, that, I don't know, maybe other people were more organized and more prepared, but there was a lot. It really kind of, and then on top of that, just, we were able to do camps. And so trying to organize all of that and trying to get things ready to go was really, really busy. However, I'd rather be busy and at least have some downtime, but it was good. We were able to still get everything done, maybe a little bit more stressful than we would really want to, but it got done, hopefully.
Great. So, Coach, with the upcoming season, what are you looking forward to? I know you guys have a couple of games upcoming this weekend against Utah, so what are you looking forward to from your team?
Well, first of all, I think we're looking forward to fans. We're looking forward to some type of normalcy, I hope, anyways. I didn't expect that we would be in this point. I felt like that several months ago, we were hoping that this pandemic will be kind of behind us. But unfortunately, we're still having to figure out what guidelines are and policies and everything when it comes to COVID. And so, however, we're excited to be able to get on the court and to compete. We have a green and white scrimmage tonight that the girls are excited to just kind of play in front of fans and in front of family, and then just kind of our preparations for Utah. And then just be able to fill the arena with fans and have, I mean, yesterday was the first day of school back, and to see all these people in the hallways walking from class to class was just kind of refreshing to see everybody back on campus. So although there's times where we like having our quiet times, but it was refreshing to see the crowds, the students, and everybody that university is all about. And so we're just excited to kind of get back on the court, ready to go. And Utah is a very challenging first match for sure. But we're looking forward to it.
Coach Atoa, we're shooting this on Tuesday morning. We just announced today a partnership with Espn, and that Utah match will be on ESPN Plus for viewers to see. And we're very excited about that, and excited to get some volleyball and some other sports, some opportunities to get on that platform as we did for the WAC tournaments the past couple of years. Nothing like starting with a cupcake, huh, Coach? You're going to start right out of the box with Utah.
Yeah, through the summer and after the season was over, scheduling was very, very difficult. Trying to get your 4 weeks of preseason and it was not our plan was not to play Utah at the first weekend. It was to play them a little later. But as things kind of fell through and as these things happen, it was just everything was so fluid that eventually we kind of got to the point where, hey, we've got to just finalize things. And teams just have to make some decisions. And so that was a difficult thing with scheduling, is that coaches were just not making decisions, and it was just changing here, changing there. And so it was hard. It really was hard. And so finally we were able to just kind of like, okay. And so Beth and I kind of got together, and after 3 or 4 different type of options, we were like, okay, let's just do this. We had it available. Let's just start. And we were able to at least finalize that, moved on to week 2, finalized that, moved on to week 3, and so forth. And so finally we were able to finalize everything with our 4 weeks of preseason. And and going into this, we do have a fairly tough preseason, with not only starting with Utah back-to-back, but then with Hawaii coming in next week with Cal Poly, and then on the road with Weber, going to NAU in their tournament with Arizona State and UC Davis, and then home with Utah State, Idaho State, and then BYU to finish the preseason. So it's definitely a very, very challenging preseason, but we are we want to measure ourselves and kind of see how good we're going to be. And I feel like that if we want to be the best, we've got to play the best and try to beat the best. And especially in the state, these teams in the state are very quality teams that we play each year, and we're excited for the challenge to compete against them.
Well, Coach, coming into the year, you seem to have an experienced team. So does that play into some of the preseason matches that you scheduled to see, just to gauge how your team will fare against those teams that you scheduled for the year?
Well, I think that I think that when you have several returners returning and your core group, it does help you kind of make decisions on whether what type of a preseason that you want to have. And so, however, last year there was no preseason whatsoever, but it felt like that the 3 freshmen that we had that was an impact on our team last year really helped us tremendously and kind of get that experience kind of going into this. So in addition to our returning with those freshman players, has really kind of added to what I feel like is a great core group. And we're relying on some newcomers, I think, and also some freshman kids that are quality athletes, that we are always challenging them to step up, because you never know unless you just go after it on whether you're going to get on the court or not. And it doesn't help us any if they just kind of come in and kind of wait things out a little bit. No, we want them to come in ready to go and compete and help us be better. And so we're excited about the core group of kids that are coming in and who we have. We have a few more kids on our team than we've had before. So it really kind of helps with some depth and some concerns that we had last year, especially with some injuries and trying to monitor playing time for some, and then trying to figure out how to do the back-to-back matches with the season last year and the challenges of trying to stay healthy. And so we're fairly relatively healthy this year as we start the season. And so I'm excited, and hopefully that will kind of stay that way. But just excited for our team, our fans, our girls, just being able to kind of get out there and play some volleyball.
Oh, one of those returners, Coach, of course, Kazna Tanavasa, the returning player of the year. She also picked up the preseason player of the year award. I got to imagine having her back makes your life a little bit easier anyway. Oh,
of course. I think that you have whether it's a player of the year or not, she is such a dynamic and very physical athlete, and just has been huge for what we've done in the last 3 years. And so her being an impact right from the beginning as a freshman, her sophomore year, and then what we did this last year. And so really excited about the success and what she brings. And then also too, I think with that it helps with the level of recruits that we were able to kind of get because of the success that we're having, that Kazna's having, as well as our team is having. And so all of that kind of brings it together and makes it a fun times in practice and fun competition, because they just kind of get after it.
All right. So speaking about last year's success, talk to us about winning the WAC Championship, and as well as your team going to the NCAA tournament.
Well, I tell you, when we started the season, we just for sure, and I don't know that anybody knew exactly how things were going to end up, and I wasn't quite sure exactly on playing back-to-back matches and how to monitor that. But yet I felt like that, and then too with the season where kids got sick, there COVID and quarantining and postponements and cancellations. I mean, all of these things that were all, it was kind of like part of what our year was. It was just really, really crazy, not just for us, but everybody. But I felt like that our team was quite resilient. They were willing to make it adjust. They were able to make some difficult, challenging situations into a fun experience, whether it was down going to Texas on the Texas freeze that they had, and all of those, and finding no place to eat except for a McDonald's, and making that a fun experience, even though that McDonald's wasn't the first choice of meal, but it was a meal. And so, I mean, all of those things. And I felt like that was a big part of that. Our success at the end was just their willingness to just adapt. And we were fortunate to be able to host the WAC tournament here, with New Mexico State not being able to do that. And it's never a guarantee when you host, because I think if you look back past history, that the host team usually does not win. And so I don't know if it was something that we really wanted, but at the same time, we felt like that we could make certain adjustments to be successful here. And so the WAC tournament was awesome. Just was like, I think if I recall that most of the matches were basically 2 to 3 points in each of the sets, pretty much, and it could have gone either way. And we were fortunate that it bounced our way against Grand Canyon, and then be able to do the same thing against New Mexico State, and then be able to just do it at home with the limited number of people that we have here. That was just exciting. It was exciting for us, and then be able to qualify for the NCAA tournament under the format that they had in Omaha. That was a really special experience, to be there actually with everybody, and not just with 4 teams that you normally are with, but to be there, kind of go through all guidelines and to compete there. And so it was awesome. It really was. It just is more than what I expected it to be. And especially for our girls to experience that on such a difficult year, and then to be able to represent the WAC in Omaha, that was a great time. And so we hope that our goals are to just continue to build what we did this last year, and challenge our team to be successful like some of the other programs in the WAC and conferences that continue to be successful. And so we're hoping to prepare ourselves in all that we can to be at the top at the end. I think that's no different than any other team that's working on trying to win the WAC and winning the WAC tournament and qualify for the NCAA tournament. And so we're planning on working hard to try to accomplish those goals.
We're talking with Sam Atoa, the head volleyball coach at Utah Valley. The Wolverines picked to win the West Division this year. Something brand new this year, Coach. You have divisions in the West. It's pretty stacked with the quote unquote older WAC teams. You have New Mexico State, Grand Canyon, California Baptist. On the Southwest Division, you have the newer schools: Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, Abilene Christian, and Lamar. As far as that goes, Coach, you got to, I guess, feel proud that the coaches picked you to win the West Division. But boy, that's going to be a tough chore this year, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't know that it's something that we really want, I mean, because now you've got a big old target on your back. But I think the respect that the coaches have had for our program from what we had done last year, and it's quite humbling and honored that they would see that. But it's not really about, what coaches think. It's more about what happens at the end. And so grateful for the respect that these coaches have given to our program and for our success. But now it's time for us to kind of, after the preseason, is this to take care of business on the court. And hopefully we can do that through the season and try to stay healthy, because it is a challenge. There's several teams in our division. And I think that's what's helping our conference become better and better and stronger, is because of this competition. It could either go either way with New Mexico State or Grand Canyon, Cal Baptist. I mean, all of these teams are just quality teams that are coached very well, and you like that. In having that competition in a tough conference, because that's only helping you to kind of get better and to increase your conference RPI and your team RPI. So the divisions are somewhat unique. It's something that we will experience for the first time. Fortunately, we will at least be able to play two of the teams on the other side, in the other division. And hopefully at some point in time down the road, it'll work out where we're able to play everybody. But at least we're able to play two. And I'd like to kind of get it back to a point where we can kind of continue on with the somewhat of a rivalry or just that consistency with UTRGV that we've had in the years past. And any other of these teams. So the addition of these Texas schools, it really helps strengthen our conference, and we're looking forward to just having a very competitive conference on both divisions, and then going into the conference tournament at the end of the year.
With the excitement level of the new schools joining, how does that help with like recruiting and things like that moving forward? Because I know that you get a chance to play these Texas schools, and the WAC's level of play is going to go up significantly. So how does that help with with recruiting?
I don't know at this point. I think it's still, for us, it's still a little early to tell. I do feel like that if it kind of gets to a point where we're able to compete with everybody, then that really opens up, I think, the Texas market, that for us to be able to more so in Texas, because then we would end up playing quite a few Texas schools. And so that is what I foresee anyways, and we kind of get to that point. In the meantime, we're trying to identify the right athletes that will fit into our program, because our conference, our region, the New Mexico States, these teams, Grand Canyons, we're always going to hopefully be able to get the kids to compete against one another. And so that kind of raises the level of recruits, it raises the level of competition, and that's what we feel like we need to have so that we can be a very competitive.
Well, we had a couple of technical difficulties at the end of the interview there, but I want to thank Coach Sam Atoa for joining us on the WAC Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.